What is up, gamers? We're going to be talking about a specific Yu-Gi-Oh set, Amazing Defenders. This came out recently, and I think it has some amazing reprints, but we're specifically talking about what cards from this set are good inclusions to a cube. Now, folks, if you don't know what a cube is, I made an excellent video about that format. You might want to pause this video and go give that a quick watch and then come back to this. But for those of you who already know, let's just jump into this. So I gotta set some rules first. Because most cubes, they either just play regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Or they have their own custom rule set, such as my cube that uses the Monster League rules. So because of this, some cards might rate better in some cubes than others, and some might be worse. For example, mine, it has no extra deck monsters, so some of these cards might just be completely pointless, but yours may, and it might just be worth knowing about these. So anyway, the general rule is that the more generic and less restrictive a card is, the better it is as a draft or sealed pick, and this is just true in an alt format, especially like Monster League. And so I'm just going to save myself the headaches. I'm not going to rate these from like best to worst or break them into categories of this is good for a general cube or this is good for Monster League. I'm just basically lumping them all into one category of here's just a bunch of cards that I think are nice and worth considering. So first off, we got Gizmek Orochi. He has good attacking stats. He can beat up Jinzo, but he can't beat up Summon Skull. He's very easy to cheat out with his banish effect. If you don't have extra decks, he kind of only goes that far, but if you do have an extra deck available in that format, you get even more mileage because now you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck and pop any monster, which is pretty damn good. And to add even more gas to that, if you have Return from the Different Dimension or Dimension Fusion, he just becomes nuts. Next is Isolde. So even though my cube, it has no extra deck monsters, I would be very remiss not to include this former meta titan. Next up is Limit Removal. This card is actually insane. So in Monster League, it's just a complete blowout and instant win if you have any type of field presence, and it doesn't matter what the opponent has because they're just going to take a ton of damage. They'll probably die. And even in other types of cubes, it still can swing games heavily, like in Cyber Dragons or any type of machine build in general. I would not recommend this card unless you know what you're doing. And then next up is 1 for 1. This is a great opener. It lets you start graveyard plays and you get an important utility monster onto the field. All around a great pick. And next up, Hidden Armory. It's okay if you have some good equip cards to use it with. It really depends on what kind of deck you drafted and what type of equips are available. It's very dependent on what you have, but I think it does a really good job at thinning the deck, and it's worth including if you already have a decent presence of equip cards. Then is Card Trooper. This is a solid inclusion in any cube, I feel. It has a self-mill effect and it becomes a 1900 beater, and it even has a floating draw 1, so no matter what happens, you're getting some type of advantage from it. And then we got Reinforcement of the Army. This is just a must-have in Monster League, and even outside of that, it's still amazing in any other type of format. It's been reprinted to death, and Amazing Defenders marks another addition to this classic, so it's incredibly easy to get, and this is just another set you can grab it from. Double-Edged Sword. I think this card is very cool. I've never seen this before, but it's apparently been printed in other sets, I think. And it really lights up those old head neurons by being Axe of Despair reloaded. It's very cool. It has a pretty fair drawback, so it means it won't get too out of hand. I think it's good, especially considering we don't all have the best equip options, and this is just raw power. I like it a lot. And then my last card from this set, this is actually a brand new card, Nini the Mirror Mikanko. So despite being an archetype card, her effect is extremely generic and allows her to fit into any equipped themed builds. She becomes a live wire once you equip something to her like a Moon Mirror Shield, and her once per turn quick effect that steals monsters is a good way to defend yourself from attackers or to grab a healthful field effect for yourself. And the other thing I really like about her is her stats are pretty meh, like it's a 0-0, But the cool thing is, if you whiff her and she has no cards to equip to her, it's not that bad, because you can even just throw her onto the field, she'll soak up a hit for you, and you won't take any battle damage from it. So I think overall, she's very well designed, and I think it's a pretty good card to include if you have an already present equip theme and you want to push a little more into it, and that's what's great about Amazing Defenders. Anyway guys, I hope you liked this video. I'll be covering the next set, Wild Survivors, after this. There's some pretty cool stuff that I'm very excited to talk about, and I'm gonna have to save that for the next video though. Anyway gamers, catch y'all later.